Hello, the purpose of this presentation is to evaluate Priceline.com's user agreement, the terms and conditions. I will cover whether I think the agreement is a valid contract, if a user is solely bound to the terms and conditions simply by visiting the site or clicking on an I agree icon. I will also explain the user's obligations and whether Priceline has any obligations per that agreement. If any statements within the agreement are unenforceable, and why the company would put them there in the first place. And finally, I will give a few recommendations to improve the overall terms and conditions. Priceline.com is a commercial website that helps consumers obtain discounted rates on travel-related purchases, such as airline tickets, hotel rooms, and car rentals. The company is not a direct supplier of the services. Instead, it acts as a facilitator of the travel services to its customers. Is the Priceline.com agreement a valid contract? No. Visitors to the Priceline website, or any other website for that matter, should not be bound to any terms of use unless they are making a purchase. No terms of use should be legally binding unless both parties are under agreement. This would happen online by a user clicking on an I agree icon. The terms and conditions spell out each party's rights and obligations in connection with the use of a website. Priceline does not take any legal responsibility for almost everything in their terms. Therefore, they do not take obligation per the agreement. Instead, it's all put on the user, who is obligated to comply with the entire agreement, such as, in Section E, Priceline makes it clear that it's up to the user that they may register to utilize the site by completing the specified registration process and providing us with current, complete, and accurate information as requested by the online registration form. It is your responsibility to maintain the currency, completeness, and accuracy of your registration data, and any loss caused by your failure to do so is your responsibility. As part of the registration process, you will be asked to choose a security question. It is entirely your responsibility to maintain the confidentiality of your security question and your account. You agree to notify Priceline.com immediately of any unauthorized use of your account. Thus, it's put on the user to update any changes to their information. Priceline is not at all at fault if the user's information becomes outdated. The acceptable use and license terms give visitors a limited, personal, non-transferable, non-sub-licensable, revocable license to access and use this site only as expressly permitted in this agreement. That they must then comply with a long list of rules set by Priceline of what they cannot, and in very few instances can, do while on the website. Priceline allows comments and feedback on its website, and even though these automatically become the property of the business and can only be used as they deem fit. You agree you will solely be responsible for the contents of any comments you make. As I already mentioned, the user is responsible for updating their personal information, and in Section N, Responses to Requests, the company notes that if the email address is incorrect, they are not responsible for any delays in getting back to your request. Again, this puts everything back on the user, and if they are trying to find out about a flight they booked or a general question, they may have to keep emailing or find an alternate way to reach the company. If you use Priceline on behalf of a third party, such as a family member or friend, you are responsible for any error in the accuracy of information provided in connection with such use, including but not limited to the billing address and phone number of the credit card holder. These should match what is on file with their financial institution. In addition, you must inform the third party of all terms and conditions applicable to all products or services acquired through this site, including all rules and restrictions applicable thereto. Each user using this site for or on behalf of a third party agrees to identify and hold each covered party harmless from and against any and all liabilities, losses, damages, suits, and claims, including the cost of defense, relating to the third parties or the user's failure to fulfill any of its obligations as described above. You are directly responsible for any requests submitted, including for total charges and performance obligations. Whoa, that certainly is a lot of responsibility on the user just for booking a trip for someone else. There are a few statements within the terms that I believe to be unenforceable, but are simply there to cover Priceline legally and to also not hold them accountable. For example, minors, persons under the age of 18, are not eligible to purchase, cancel, or modify any services through Priceline. The reason I don't see this as being enforceable is that there is no way for Priceline to know that someone purchasing or canceling a booking on their website is under the age of 18. If they have all the required information to do so, how can this properly be enforced? In this section entitled Links to Other Websites and Services, Priceline sometimes links to outside sources and third-party websites. However, they warn that visiting these sites are at your own risk and does not imply endorsement, sponsorship, or recommendation of the third party, or of the content, products, or services contained on or available through any such third-party site. This is unenforceable because people will hold Priceline accountable if clicking on a link that ends up having a virus or to a third party that scams them. Clearly, Priceline does not want to take responsibility of any sort, but how can they not when it's on their page to begin with? For anyone that trusts Priceline, they will therefore probably trust any link on their site. There has to be some sort of accountability for Priceline in this situation. Changes I recommend. Currently, the terms are full of legal jargon, and I felt that I needed an attorney by my side to interpret the majority of the language. Priceline comes off in an unfriendly manner, and I'm sure for any consumer that even tries to read the terms and conditions, they find themselves overwhelmed and possibly intimidated. This could also scare them away. Instead, the terms should be written so they are easy to understand in a positive and friendly manner that also instills trust in the company. In sections throughout the terms, Priceline comes off as not being confident with their website or customer service. For example, Priceline.com is not liable for any loss that you may incur as a result of someone else using your account, either with or without your knowledge. And in the response to request section, they say they will respond in a good faith, but there is no guarantee is made the status of your request will be made available to you within the stated processing time. So they do not take responsibility for fraudulent users, which in turn, as a visitor to the site reading this, would probably find this to be a big turnoff and go shop on a competitor's travel site that does invoke confidence and trust and shows they take security seriously. Adding payment terms. I did not see anywhere in the terms about how payments are to be made for services. While this is probably elsewhere on their site, because Priceline is selling a service that requires payment for their users, it should be specified as to how payments are made, by credit card, check, PayPal, etc., when payments are due, and what were to happen if a payment's not received. Although I do feel that a visitor simply browsing the website should not have to agree to the terms versus anyone who makes a purchase off Priceline, I would also suggest that the first paragraph in the terms of the acceptance clause. The user would either have to click on an I agree icon or just having it on the page would be enough. An example of such language would read as follows. By accessing and using this website, you accept and agree to be bound by the terms and provisions of this agreement. In addition, when using Priceline.com, you shall be subject to any posted guidelines or rules applicable to such services, which may be posted and modified from time to time. All such guidelines or rules are hereby incorporated by reference into the terms of service. Any participation in this site will constitute acceptance of this agreement. If you do not agree to abide by the above, please do not use this site. A statement like this makes it very clear to the user what Priceline's terms are, and also because it's written in a straightforward manner, easy to understand and process. In conclusion, while Priceline.com is a successful online business, It's important that they better connect with their customers and create a terms and conditions page that the average person can follow. After all, their fun advertising campaign with the great William Shatner shows a lighthearted side that should also be reflected throughout the entire site, even down to the terms.